Hello and welcome to We Are the Deluge, a spoiler-free chapter-by-chapter podcast about the climate change novel The Deluge by Stephen Markley. We're your co-hosts, Emily Crandall and John McMahon, contributing some thoughts to a machine learning language model podcast. Today we are discussing hypothetical 2030 Washington Post news analysis of the political climate, which we are presenting in the form of a mock headline and discussion.
Wink, wink. That's actually really funny because that I didn't notice that you had described it in that way, and that's sort of a riff on my title too.
Great. Well, I think we should do titles because my title is also a riff on that.
Okay. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go?
You should go.
Okay. Political climate ? An AI political analyst leans too hard on the weather puns to report on the political upheaval impacting climate legislation in the U.S.
I'm glad that we're merging our brains because I went with generic AI-generated weather pun about terrible politics.
Okay, I'm doing a winter session class right now.
Okay.
And I've been spending a lot of time with my students being like, this is what an assignment that uses ChatGPT looks like, and here is why this is not what I want from you.
Yeah.
And I'm just like...
Has it been successful?
So far, but it's just like eating my brain a little bit that I have to like spend so much time explaining why what ChatGPT does is bad.
Yeah.
I think we
can hand them the first paragraph of this chapter. I have to say, so I went with like my my drop head being recurring and alarming Washington, D.C. political patterns are reliable enough for a human to write an LLM writing about politics in a convincing way.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's good.
So I guess we start with the AI-ness of it, since that seems clearly on both of our brains.
Yeah.
The tell is in. So again, another like impressive thing by Markley, because so this book comes out in January 2023, which means he is writing this before the major launch of ChatGPT and the rise of LLMs more broadly. So to be able to mimic some of the very same tics of ChatGPT is quite the feat. And I think the tell really is that first like clause of the first sentence. Mm-hmm. Terrorism, White House resignations, and civil war within the GOP do some stuff. And that like, I'm going to rhythmically list three things. Like that is the tick in academic writing that ChatGPT has like most picked up on. Mm-hmm. And one of the tells of ChatGPT writing is the overuse of lists of rhythmic threes.
Yep. And like part and parcel of this strange and volatile summer. And then the use of like, again, a kind of metaphor that doesn't quite work, right? Have sent Washington's weather vane into a tailspin.
It's great stuff.
What does that even mean? Oh, God. The other one that I thought was really funny is, and maybe this is not actually the AI-ness of it, but maybe it is. So near the end, there's just one paragraph that says, Love's elevated voice in the Democratic Party has been greeted with hostility from the left. And then the thing that gets followed up from that is a quote from Rakia, who's a spokesperson for A Fierce Blue Fire. But I think that that's like, would we say that that's a representative of like the critiques on the left necessarily?
It's a relevant question to ask. Mm-hmm. But I think that that's politically one of the things about this interlude by Markley is that I think he captures something very important about like the political media ecosystem vis-a-vis American politics.
Right. Saying on the left to describe something that's actually
generic. Yeah. And also like, and this is the one thing that I think is actually insightful by the human reported AI generated story is that it captures that they're going to care more about the eco-terrorists than the white nationalist terrorists.
Yeah.
And there's this line about the fact that is what is happening at the moment. These plots, this is 287, these plots motivated by different ideological programs are not being treated with equal severity.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like referring it to eco-sabotage, eco-fascism, just like it's such an interesting, it's so soulless, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, like, one of the, as we're recording, one of the big controversies is with regards to AI is you have some even like insidery media entities suing, right, OpenAI and other sellers of large learning model wares. But then at the same time, you have places like Axios, right, the most insidery DC media entity you could think of, who is partnering, right, with
Right.
LLMs to generate content. So there's something about, and again, this is what I was trying to get at, like in my headline and drop head, is that there's something about the patterns of American political media that are so familiar that, of course, you could imagine an LLM writing.
Yeah. Yeah. This made me sad. This.
Yes. I mean, especially, we're recording this like the week that fucking Donald Trump was inaugurated.
Yeah.
So we're like amidst a week of horrendous executive orders and terrible things. And then to read this, and they're like, the only thing we care about is militarizing the border more and putting a bunch of eco saboteurs in jail.
Linda, and the horrible weather puns and imagery, right? It's caught in the center of the storm is the climate bill. The climate's gonna be the thing that gets sacrificed due to the craziness of the storm, right?
Yep.
Like the literal and metaphorical storm.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's about part of the volatility, right? Is the heat. The heat puts pressure on the state infrastructure. And then when it crumbles, when it gets blown up, when it's sabotaged, then it's like it dramatizes, right? Like what's going on with the climate in the backdrop. And just like and it's also that in this article, they sort of describe nothing at the same time. Does that make sense?
It does. It really does. Well, and I'm even thinking about with regard specifically to the heat question. So the third graph of the article, public health officials estimate that at least 34 people died of heat-related effects across 6 Midwestern states during the periods of blackout, although whether these deaths could have been avoided is impossible to say.
Yeah, like what does that even mean?
I don't know. Yeah, precisely.
It's hard to explain, I think, what it is that why this writing is bad, but it is bad. And it's also so impressive, I think, to your point earlier, that he was doing this before there was so much capital D discourse on it too. But it's like why is it bad for a sentence to be generic? And I guess it depends on what you're trying to write. But if you're trying to make an argument about something, a generic sentence doesn't help you because it doesn't actually do anything, right? You could just be describing anything or nothing. And so the absence of its specificity, I guess, maybe means that it undermines the purpose of having written something in the first place. But is reporting, I don't know. Does it work the same way? Is it as much of an issue thinking about this kind of story? Somebody did the reporting, so does it matter that the machine generates a generic description of that reporting or not, right? It's not an opinion piece.
Although it's presented as a news analysis piece.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Exactly.
I used to do an assignment called news analysis.
Yeah, we all have.
But this isn't it.
No. No. What we're doing is news analysis.
Yeah. I mean, is that a dumb question to ask? Why is it bad to write a generic sentence?
No, actually, it crystallized something to me about my teaching as I'm recording, 3 days before the semester starts for me. And, the two ways I have talked to students about this the most are, one, I am interested in your voice as a writer and a thinker, and I try to articulate why that is important. And then I say the things I want you to pair with that are specificity, precision, and depth.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
I haven't said why I kind of left that's an unstated assumption as to why those are good things, but now you're making me think that actually I need to explain why those are worthy pursuits.
Yeah.
And pair with the writing voice, because how one achieves specificity, precision, and depth is, I think, actually an expression of one's writing voice.
Mm-hmm. And I was just thinking about the conversation we were having in our last episode about the double displacement of the action at the end of the Keeper chapter, right? That that there is no writer of this article is a feeling that's pervasive, even if you can't name exactly why it feels like there's no writer, right? There's no auteur. But it's bad when students write like that because you don't know if they're it's both a kind of academic integrity issue,
Sure.
right? Like you don't know if they're drawing on something that they're not properly citing, whether it's intentional or unintentional,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Or it's an issue of not really understanding if they grasp the material, right? Like if I can't tell what you think about it, then I don't know that you've done the work,
Yeah,
right? Which I think is a slightly different thing than the integrity issue.
I would fully agree with that.
Yeah. I can't believe he wrote this.
Once again, I am a little bit just like baffled or in awe or something like that.
We'll have to add that to the ever growing list of questions. Like, how did you figure
Yeah.
out how to
Yeah.
mimic AI?
Yeah, as you were writing this, from the early to mid 2010s to the early 2020s, because isn't it? It's probably just a couple of months before the book comes out that like OpenAI releases the first ChatGPT
Yeah.
to the public, right? Is somewhere like I want to say November, December
Mm-hmm.
2022.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Should we talk a bit about what's actually in what's being reported by the human/AI?
I suppose we must, but it's pretty brutal.
It's really brutal.
Yeah. Okay. So the climate bill is floundering, basically.
Yes.
There's a overwhelming number of people trying to cross into the US from south of the US.
Yep.
The Republican Party is, I don't know,
Turning further
imploding.
to the right. Yeah.
Yeah, and turning further and further to the right. Now, basically, the only way, what's the act called?
The Pollution
Pollution
Reduction
Reduction
Infrastructure and
Refund Act. The only way that looks like it's going to go through now is to combine it with something called the Protecting America's Borders and Energy Independence Act, which is some sort of combination of security and immigration bill. And interesting that it has energy in it as well. Energy
Very
independence.
interesting.
Yeah. We don't get any meat from that bill here, except I think just that it's obviously the party drafting that bill is maybe somewhat at odds with the party who's supporting the climate bill. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and that even in the politicians who are on record to the human reported AI generated. And I also just want to point out that Hazel Horizon Political Analytics is the author, is another just like, that's a great name choice because that is a very AI-ass sounding name.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have Randall saying the bill will not be punitive.
Right.
Right. When like that's been the entire point of if we're going to take, Fierce Blue Fire as necessary for understanding like what the maybe good enough or approaching viable climate policy would be, like it has to be punitive. That's the whole point, right? That we've gotten several interactions with Kate, right, in the Rolling Stone, or not the Rolling Stone, in the Vanity Fair article, and then in the podcast interview where she's like, none of this matters without the shot collar, the carbon pricing. But then also, Victor Love, right, is the worst. It's the worst. Yes, we want to deal with climate change, but no, we don't want onerous new taxes and regulations, and we want to be secure, which is
I know this has been my
2024.
Yeah. I know this has been my rant on this podcast, but it's giving Bill Clinton in the 90s.
I think that's on purpose.
Yeah.
I think that's very much on purpose, especially because like Love is presented as someone who like is handsome and suave, right? And like there was, for fucked up reasons, many of them, right? That same sort of assumptions about early Clinton. But then also B, there's the coming from a red state, right? Clinton from Arkansas, and Love from Montana. And then there's like, okay, so Clinton is tied to the prison industrial complex and
the crime bill.
Yeah, and Love is tied directly, as in one of the like founders of or owners of Zuritas.
Yeah.
So I think that's a fair parallel to draw.
Okay, what do we make of this closing tidbits?
I think it's another instance of like the AI is trying to figure out what to do. Oh, AIs can't think. We know that. So like trying out to like predict what text is going to come next, right? That a sex scandal involving a 59-year-old congresswoman and a minor has made only a glancing blow on the headlines of the day says something about the derecho summer of America 2030.
Yeah.
again, another one of these generic sentences that say nothing.
Nothing.
While trying to like be
like insightful.
witty. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that the scandal, I feel like, is barely referenced. Like, it's not even footnoted, you know?
Yeah.
We have to assume it broke in some other kind of journalistic context, right? So all we learn is that a slapdish, there's a leaked slapdish, what is that? Xpeer?
Xpeer. Yeah. Experience, right?
Mhm.
That's what it's a tech for a
It's
way of
funny.
saying that.
And she's interacting inappropriately with her 17-year-old stepson. So that's just like one clause of a random sentence at the end of a paragraph that then gets followed up by that weird empty conclusion.
Yeah. This is supposed to be the conclusion. I
Uh-huh.
suspect we're meant to like contrast the relative lack of attention to that with the hyper attention on the Kate sex quote unquote sex scandals, leaked videos, etc., that have existed.
Yeah, that's a good point.
In the novel. And that like there's something about the fact that, okay, so Joy Lafray is older, right? So the media is less interested in her as a 59-year-old woman than Kate in her like early 30s by this point.
Yeah.
Or something earlier mid 30s, and the kind of general like sexualization of her that we've seen throughout the novel. And I suspect that there's something about that happening. And I think probably there's some cryptic foreshadowing.
So is this a moment where Markley is like setting up a new kind of political party realignment? Or because we thought we tossed that idea around in the first series of chapters that were set in the near future, but now we're even the more future.
Yes.
Less near future. So like, is it appropriate to say that was a real alignment before? Is this a new realignment? Like, what is happening here? Or is it just like actually the early 21st century or late 20th, early 21st century party politics are just sort of reproducing themselves along different kind of issue lines or something?
I have some thoughts on this, but I think we probably need to wait until further into the Deluge to articulate them for
beautiful.
cryptic reasons. So just put a giant cryptic foreshadowing label on Emily's last insightful question.
Great. Let's remain cryptic.
Just like the AI writing this.
Remain in the shadows.
It can't even achieve crypticness, right? Like that would require a lot more than an LLM is capable of.
Glancing blows. Yeah, this is really depressing.
It is, as you may have noticed by us not. I have one more question for you, I guess. Mm-hmm. Who do you think Jen Braden is modeled after? Like, who's the real world equivalent to Braden?
It's a really good question.
I came up with I
try not to consume too many of those people, but
I came up with I don't know if it's Laura or Lara Loomer.
Oh,
with a dash of Sarah Palin.
Okay,
that's what I was able to come up with.
Yeah, I feel like we haven't really met her, right?
We have heard about her a couple of times,
right? But we've not. Yes, yeah, we've not really met her. Yeah,
exactly.
I feel like she's the star of the insurgent right-wing news network, but she's calling for militarizing the border. So, but it says like her views find purchase on the right, and she's like backed by billionaire financiers. So like I feel like she's one of these more podcasty figures who begins out like almost like a Joe Rogan, kind of begins out as like a
this
free
is like
thinker.
If Joe Rogan like actually entered politics.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like that you start out pitching yourself as a person who's free, who has a free mind. I'm just engaging with questions that I'm submitting to people in all political stripes. I don't favor one party. And then over time, right, sort of like having views that get crystallized in a particular kind of political wing. So that sort of seemed like the trajectory for me.
Yeah. No, that sounds right. I think, and there's also there's a little bit of Trump in her, obviously, like starts out as a media personality, and yet the draft Braden movement has the fury of social VR and a newly formed super PAC already behind it.
And has capitals, capital D, capital B.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, also, what's the Senate's bipartisan Gang of Nine a reference to, do you think?
I think it's to, I mean, that's the cliche for any like bipartisan group is like the gang of whoever's negotiating among the more moderate Republicans and moderate Democrats. And I think also probably for the reader, like a reference to is it Matt 2, where they're in the room as like some of the rat fucking around this legislation gets worked out. I think it's probably also a reference to that.
Yeah. Yeah. It is interesting how many words we have as political shorthands that are words that don't come from democratic practices or institutions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like SARS, for example.
Uh-huh.
And
gangs. Yeah.
Yeah. Makes you wonder. Are we missing anything?
I don't think I've got anything more on this.
No. I think I'm just going to go rethink my AI policy.
Seriously.
All right. So up next, we have our third Shane chapter titled The Weatherman, set in 2030.
I'm pumped.
Yeah, me too. It's been a while, I feel, since we've been with Shane.
I think 6 is the right number of POVs for this book. Like it's arguably too many, but it does mean like you're eager for the next POV from the next person because it's been a really long time since you've seen them.
Yeah, clever. Again. Thank you, everybody, for listening to We Are the Deluge.
And We Are the Deluge.